After the loss of Sarah, my daughter, I thought the pain couldn't get any worse until my wife left on Christmas morning. But in the midst of the pain, I found a strength that I never knew I had. My wife and I, we were in love. We had a good family and things were going well, but everything changed when Sarah died. Our hearts were broken. Mine, my wife's, my children's, family, community. But I believe it was my wife whose heart was broken the most. I mean, think about it. Imagining, carrying a baby inside you for 9.5, 10 months. You become very intimate with that child. You feel every movement. And then afterwards, you care for that child. I think a woman and their children are very well connected, and more than a father and their children, at least in the beginning. And so when Sarah passed away, it entirely broke her mind. Entirely broke her heart. It was more than being heartbroken. It was more than being crushed. I mean, it had entirely broken her. I mean, she built these walls around her heart, so thick, so high, and nobody could reach her anymore. She really couldn't express her love towards her children and me anymore. She just wasn't the same. And so she made some decisions, She numbed the pain, which of course it caused some problems in our marriage. We drifted apart. And I tried. Really hard. I was determined, of course, because of the loss of my brother and the consequences of that. My father's family fell apart, and I didn't want that to happen to me. But, her decisions, the decisions that she made would ruin any marriage. But I still had to try to hold on for love's sake and for my children's sake. So I made a decision. I was going to forgive her. And so, we tried. She ended up leaving. She came back. We reconciled. But the heartbreaking moment that really shattered what we had was the fact that she left Christmas morning. You see, because of the loss of my daughter, we were really going to try and make this Christmas meaningful and try to raise the hope in our family by watching our children open up the gifts that we had sacrificed to give to them and others people had given to my family, my children. Lots of presents under their tree, house decorated. And so we woke up in the morning. We came downstairs and wrapping paper was everywhere. Our youngest kids, ages 2 and 3 years old, they had gotten up early, went downstairs, and they opened up all the presents. I thought it was funny, but she didn't. She says, hey, I need to go for a walk. I need to cool off. She walked out the front door and she never came back. And for a couple of months, I grieved. When she was gone, I was on the floor, just laying there in the living room floor for 2 months. And during those 2 months, I did everything that I could to try and find where she was. And every effort that I made, it wasn't happening. There was this one time, the last time, I finally gave up trying because I brought her some flowers one time at a hotel, and because I had found out where she was, and I went out there and I found her, and I begged her to come back home because, our family needs to stay together. We can work out the problems, if God can forgive us for everything that we had done against him, then, her and I, we can let the past go, and we can move forward trying to love our children, trying to teach them that the way to hold things together, so that when they get older and they face the same problems, they wouldn't end up like our parents, like mine and like hers. Because when life gets hard, that's what happens. People, they give up. I didn't want to give up. But when I went out to go see her, and I gave her the flowers, and I was pleading with her to come home, I could see her eyes and her demeanor. And there was no way I was going to reach her. So I went back home. I collapsed again on the living room floor and grieved deeply. So from the time she left and the time I finally decided to get up, it had been 2 months. So I got up off the floor and I made a decision that I was going to focus raising my children. So not long after she had left, she ended up moving out of town, far away. So that left me and the children alone. I had to raise them by myself. So with whatever strength that I had left, I gave it to them, to my children. And yeah, I made my mistakes. I mean, think about it, all the trials that I had been through and the great burdens on my shoulder, trying to learn to have patience through it all. It wasn't easy. And so I made my mistakes, but I was still determined to equip my children, to get them ready for the trials that they will face. And this is still one of the hardest things I'm still facing. I'm still trying to raise my 2 youngest children on my own. But I made a decision. I'm going to keep pressing forward. I'm going to keep pressing towards the mark. For the sake of love, for the sake of my children, for the sake of my grandchildren, for God's sake, for love's sake, for community's sake. And so there were some hard lessons in this. And because of it, I bear a heavy burden, but there's some lessons that I've learned. So if you're willing, come back to the next video and I'll share with you some hope that I found.